Welcome to Alien Agenda. This is Tony Tiora, your host here. We do a podcast that's out a couple times a month. Ron Watkins is the co-host on that. This here is going to be our YouTube channel, and we feel that maybe having some videos out will be great for the public to kind of also, see some documents. We'll throw some documents on the screen and talk about various topics. Today's topic is the newly released Alien Leaks website by Ron Watkins. He's trying to get scientists and people, with information about alien communication, alien projects, sent into him. And his first documents, the first real interesting document that came in is a document about a project called the Gateway Project. And interestingly, it was something that was out already, but I think it was almost memory hole. It's a document about the experience a guy named Robert Monroe, who started this group called the Monroe Institute, and it discusses the ability. It's going to sound crazy to a lot of folks, but the CIA studied it. Probably not directly. It was through Army intelligence, and the document was from 1983. So this is kind of old information, but I think it's still relevant. Math. 100 years ago, and math today. I mean, addition, subtraction, calculus, all that stuff. I mean, it's still the same. I think this is kind of memory hold information, and it's kind of picked up an interest. It was on TikTok and a couple other social media sites. The big thing about this document, the Gateway document, is it talks scientifically about how one can enter various modes of like out of body experience. And what we mean, and Robert Monroe was the one that coined that phrase because he found that when he was sleeping or going to bed, he was able to get out of his body, see his body, and then like travel all over the place. Now, he thought he was kind of crazy, but he seemed like a smart guy. And he tried to do analysis on what went on. So the CIA found this interesting too because, I mean, and I'm sure Army intelligence did, because if you could actually get out of your body and travel someplace else, you could do reconnaissance. You could spy. You could get information that people hide in a folder. I mean, it's kind of like you're almost like a ghost being able to travel anywhere and get anything. So Robert Monroe at his institute was the first place or company to kind of like really study this. So the CIA report was interesting. They kept out a page number 25. It's probably like a 28-page document. It's going to be online. Well, actually, it will be online when this video is out at alienleaks.org. You should be able to pick that full document up, including the page 25. Now, I'm going to try to give you a summary because this document is going to be way over the heads, and I'm not saying that our viewers are not going to be able to understand it, but I'm going to tell you a lot of people are going to be confused about it. It talks a lot about physics, frequencies, various the hemisync waves that are required from the left part of the brain and the right part of the brain. I'm an electrical engineer, and it's been many years since I've done any real circuit design or anything like that. But a lot of these concepts are still in my head. So basically, the Monroe Institute, what they talked about in this document was that you could listen to certain music and certain frequencies, and it would allow you to more quickly meditate and get into a state of out-of-body experience. And that document, the page that was missing, by the way, I think the reason they took it out because they felt maybe it wasn't politically correct. It talked about how, with religion and how a lot of people might take this as kind of a religious state, like, maybe meeting this cosmic consciousness, this thing called the absolute, and that we're living in this kind of electromagnetic, hologram. Cool things that I get out of this is that a couple things. One, it kind of proves the out-of-body experience. It also proves the ability to do remote viewing, which the government was involved in with a thing called the Gateway Project. There was a guy named Ingo Swann and a few other people that worked. I believe they were involved with the Stanford Research Institute, who were studying remote viewing because they wanted to find Russian subs and things of that nature. So it involves remote viewing. It's also quite fascinating, and people almost think it occult-like, astrologically occult-like, because they discovered that once you're able to enter this part of the universe, right, that you can kind of traverse space and time. So if you build up your skills, you could actually go back in time. You could pick a location, go back in time, or pick a location and go into the future. And I kind of like, from both reading and from like meditating over the years, I kind of believe this. From a science fiction perspective, I actually wrote about it in a book that I put out called The Rise of Alien News. There's a section where the boy is told to go to Mars, and to go to Mars in a previous time when there was life on Mars. And I actually, when I wrote that part of the story, I actually tried to do an out-of-body remote session. So I don't know if any of it's true or not. I'm a creative guy because I'm a writer. But I wrote some stuff in the book about what Mars was like many years ago, and a big disaster that happened, and how the quote Martians are gone. It makes for great science fiction, but I was surprised to see this document that Mr. Watkins got at Alien Leaks, because it kind of basically reaffirmed some things that I believed for a long time. So, can anybody just read this document and now you're going to get out of body? No, that's not going to happen. I think that if you read this document and you read the books by Robert Monroe, and you practice the methods, I think it's possible for people to expand their consciousness. And I think as long as that's done in a way like, that's spiritual in a sense. I mean, like, would we want a world where everybody could like travel in time and space and see everything? I mean, I don't know if the world's ready for that. But I think that if you're not ready for that, you probably shouldn't try this stuff. But you might be surprised. Maybe there's some people going to use this technology, and it'll enlighten them. There's a new book that I recommend by Robert Monroe. It was a book called The Ultimate Journey, and that was not part of the CIA document repository because it came out actually later. And I found it absolutely fascinating. This is why we're putting this on Alien Agenda. He talks about out-of-body experience and meeting alien entities. He called one like infosec, like they're intelligent species that are like only living in this like kind of ethereal experience, in this kind of like multi-dimensional hologram. And it seems like they're very spiritual. They don't want to give information that's going to hurt people. He talked about how we got some information, and I haven't finished the book, to be honest, so maybe there'll be another episode about the book. But I think that, like, in the documents from the Army intelligence, they didn't really per se talk about aliens. But I think they kept that kind of secret. I actually think that the only way that the government could really effectively communicate is through something to the Robert Monroe stuff, and that's probably why they studied. And I wouldn't be surprised. I suspect that it's only the tip of the iceberg, that they continued on studying this. I would think that intelligence agencies would be remiss if they didn't use these kind of technologies and studies to expand their spying and their intelligence gathering capabilities. I would think that it's done worldwide. I think that if people take this and say, oh, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus, they're really being remiss. This stuff needs to be taken seriously, just like the whole, the UFO phenomena. I'm confident the United States government takes that seriously, but they just don't, they're just not passing the information on to the public. So, I think this is going to be interesting for folks who have an open mind to look at this information. I think you're going to find some interesting experiences. And those who don't believe it, that's fine. So the bottom line is the CIA document on alienleaks.org, called the Gateway, I think it's the Gateway document or Gateway experience. I'm not sure what they're calling it on the website, but it's like 20 some pages, and there's a missing page that Vice, a magazine called Vice, put out. Highly recommend. Take the time to read it. If it becomes too complicated, some of the stuff is pretty simple, but some of the stuff is very complex, gets into the frequencies of the mind. If it gets a little too complicated, I highly recommend reading the Monroe Institute books by Robert Monroe. The Ultimate Journey is the one I'm reading right now. He has other books on the journey. It's a 3-book set. I plan on reading all 3. I think that people listening to this, I think if you're interested in getting an out-of-body experience, read the books and enjoy the journey. Thank you. Please click at the bottom, like and subscribe, and also click the little bell at the bottom. We really appreciate your support. Without your support, we couldn't continue putting out this great information. Thank you.